Thank you for joining us. So today we are whizzing through 15 mighty tips in 15 minutes, and we're focusing on LinkedIn and Sales Navigator. Why do we do 15 minutes? It's because we've all sat through our long webinars for one or two takeaways. So we hope to be able to deliver some pure value for you today. And at 8:15, you can jump off as promised, but we will stay here for live Q&A until all the questions are done. But as we go, we do have Fergus and Ivana from Pitch One to One who can answer questions as we go, because I won't have any time to stop at all, because I've given myself this huge challenge of 15 tips in 15 minutes. So let me just check that Fergus is there. Yep, he's there, ready to answer your questions. Brilliant. Okay, so why Sales Navigator? So Sales Navigator helps you to identify people. It helps you to find triggers so you can spark up a conversation. And as we know on LinkedIn, it's conversation that leads to conversions and new business. Don't expect me to go through all of Sales Navigator's features today, just focusing on those that are battle tested. So here we go. Now, this is quite a big one, really. It's about going account first rather than lead first when you're searching for people to contact, and it goes as default onto lead first, and you've got all the demographic information in there, so industry, company, head count. So it's really tempting to do all of your searches here in the lead bit. But because the individual says what industry they work in, and they say the sort of company that they work in, and they invariably don't update that, then it's quite inaccurate. For example, a marketing director of a pharmaceutical company would say that they work in the industry of marketing and advertising, whereas you would be searching for them under pharmaceuticals. So they actually wouldn't drop into your pool. So what we advise is go over to the account results first, use the demographic filters, save all of those accounts into a custom list, and then come back into leads, and then you can search for the job titles and the geography within the accounts that you've already saved into the custom list. So there's quite a bit around this, and I have written more detail on this in an article which will be available on our website later on this week. Okay, the next tip is to use Boolean rather than the drop-down job titles. So here on the lead filter, if you start writing CEO, Chief Executive Officer, Chief Technical Officer, it'll just do a drop-down, and you think, okay, there's an exact match. We're going to get those people there. What we found is if you actually put a Boolean in, which we've got some examples here, you'll get about twice as many people in the pool. And you don't even have the advantage on the drop down of it being an exact match, because PAs and so on do drop in. Next one is to think about geography for both the account and the lead. So the geography in the account search is the headquarters, and then the geography in the lead search is where the individual is. So very often we'll be searching for companies that are global, so your PepsiCos and so on will come in, but you want individuals that are based in the UK. The geographies are quite confusing on LinkedIn. A lot of people have them in different formats because it's been changed over time. But actually, I mean, you can go really granular with postcodes, but we actually usually find that cities and countries are good enough. Okay, so taking a step out of Sales Navigator, it is good to have a think about who would make a really good client for you. So for example, if you sell really well to MarTech and AdTech companies, then you may want to put in the industry of information technology, and then put in keywords MarTech or AdTech. So anybody who calls himself a MarTech or AdTech will then drop into the pool. It could be that you might think that if we don't have a marketing person in the company that we're targeting and we're dealing with the CEO, that is an absolute nightmare for us. So we would rather work with a company that's a bit more established and has got a marketing team. So then you can have department headcount minimum of 1 in marketing. Say, for example, you want somebody who is really aggressively growing. Perhaps you'll want to look at somebody who has grown their department headcount like by doubling their sales team. So So all of these things are possible within Sales Navigator. You can also find funded companies. Crunchbase, that has loads of information about mergers, acquisitions, and funding events, is integrated into LinkedIn, which is fantastic. Now, it's not one of those filters down the left-hand side. You have to do your ordinary searches, and then it's actually across the top once you've got your list of companies. And what you have to be really careful of is to keep it broad enough, because otherwise that number will be too small. But even if you keep it broad, be aware that your PepsiCos can get funding as much as your startup. So you probably want to put the company size in there. And if you know your ideal client in terms of revenue, then this can be quite tricky on LinkedIn, because companies don't have to put their revenue in when they create their company page, which means that only a minority of companies has their revenue against it, which just means that the pools are really small. The revenue is also only 1 million plus, so you don't find those smaller companies at all by revenue. So what I would recommend that you do, if you are looking for bigger companies and you're looking for 1 to 5 million, for example, put that in and the industry, and just have a look down to see which you can see the full-time employees on this particular view. And if the majority of them are, say, 200 to 500 FTEs, then that's the FTE that you should use, FTE being short for full-time employee. Next, right, technologies used. So we were really excited about technologies, and it turned out to be quite inaccurate. So it's pretty good, 70 to 80% there, but you will have to clean it afterwards. We've used it to find people who are on certain e-commerce platforms, so it gets you some way there, but we've actually just decided to use other external sources and then bring the companies in afterwards. Right, so this is a bit of the confusing one, and even we've had to clarify this between ourselves. So custom lists are replacing tags, and a custom list is created either on the lead side or the account side, and it's all the people that you've saved already into Sales Navigator, and you've added them to a list, and you can name those lists whatever you like. So they're fixed, and the advantage of that is that, well, the way that we use it, I mentioned earlier with the account search, is you save the companies into a custom list. They're fixed, then you go on to the lead search, and you're able to search for leads within that custom list. And then, of course, you save those individuals into Sales Navigator, and those again can go into a named custom list. So custom lists are really useful, but they're not the same as saved searches. So a saved search is useful, but in a different way. So a saved search is, instead of saving the individuals or the individual companies, it's saving the filters, which means that leads can drop in and out depending on people changing their information. Now, where saved searches are useful, it means that you don't have to redo the search over again. It means that you can go back to it, you can edit the search, but also you can see who's new. So on the summary, you can click new, and then this is the kind of view that comes up. So 68 new people have come into this saved search since last time we looked, which is really good for salespeople to be able to just keep new leads coming into the pipeline. So we're 9 minutes in. We're doing well for our 15-minute target. That was all about identifying. I appreciate this is racing through, but we'll stop and we'll go back to this at the end. We're now on triggers and starting conversations, which is what this is all about. Okay, so you found the people that you want to target, and it's important that you actually do save them into Sales Navigator. So the save button is there in Sales Navigator, and when you click save, there's a little drop down to add to whichever custom list or create a new custom list. So what that then does is that gives you a home page feed where lots of information is coming up, either about the accounts you've saved or the leads you've saved, whether they're mentioned in the news, whether they've accepted your connection request, and you can really keep a tight eye on all of the activity of your saved leads, which means that you have an opportunity to then go in, message, connect with with people with something really specific. And when you're specific on LinkedIn, it really makes you stand out, because so many people don't make the effort. And the fact that you have made the effort, people actually give you a little bit of airtime. If you're connecting to people with a sales message all about me, it just doesn't work. Just use Sales Navigator to connect to people through interest in them, and then stay front of mind, because not everybody's ready to buy, and but they may be one day. So yeah, connect and be nice to people. Now, this lead shares. I would recommend that you spend the most time on lead shares. So where you've got your home page, you can actually filter that down into types of feeds, and lead shares are good because it's what the people that you've actually saved into Sales Navigator, it's what they're posting about. And when they post, you can comment and you can like on their post. People are really grateful for that, because often they'll end up with 2 likes, and the fact that you are helping their post, you're showing interest in them, means that you're giving a little bit first before you ask a little. So actually commenting and liking on a post before sending a connection request, say, hey, I saw your post about this, thought it was really interesting, would you like to connect, does wonders for the amount of people that you connect to. So if you just do a cold connection, minimum benchmark you should be looking at is 30%. If you put just a like on a post before you connect, the benchmark goes right up to 50% as an expectation. But 50% is a minimum expectation. We've seen 68%, 73%, and even 83% with Fergus recently, from simply a like before connecting. And then showing interest in them. So this is an example here where I saw your post about X. It prompted me to look at your profile. So you're adding on to not just about the post. I've looked at your profile and I've pulled out something that I think is interesting that you have written on your profile. So a huge amount of flattery. This exchange has actually led on to an opportunity. It's a little bit more time, but like, comment, then show interest in them. It's a really great start. Then if you're sending quite a few connection requests, you would want to withdraw them after 2 weeks. If people start declining your connection request, LinkedIn asks them, do you know them? When you click I don't know, it's a little black mark from LinkedIn, lots of those, and you will get a restriction on your account. Research from our testing lab actually says 90% plus connect in the first 2 weeks. So you may as well withdraw them after 2 weeks, because there's very little value after that. And then, of course, once you are connected, keep doing the liking and commenting, because look at what comes up in the notifications, and people keep seeing you, they keep seeing you giving. You weren't just doing it to get connected and sell to them. There's the Teams upgrade. You don't actually need a team to upgrade to Teams. 2 reasons to do that. You can save 5,000 instead of 1,500 in Sales Navigator. Bigger pool. You can then be more selective about which posts that can be more relevant. And Smart Links is a really cool feature, which is you upload a presentation and you can put it out there without it being a unique URL, and be able to know which person exactly looked at that presentation and which pages they looked at, which means you can be more specific in your follow-up. And we're on 8:14 and we're on tip 15. So last one is monitor both inboxes. This is the most confusing thing about Sales Navigator. They've got their own inbox and it's not merged with the normal one on linkedin.com. So you can do connections and messages from either. You can do in-mails only from Sales Navigator. Recommend that lots of your chats will already be in the .com mailbox, so I would keep everything there. And also, if you're messaging somebody who's also got Sales Navigator, it'll end up in their Sales Navigator inbox. So I would just avoid the Sales Navigator inbox unless you're doing in-mail, and then go into the .com. So that means you're identifying in Sales Navigator, clicking to their profile, going view in linkedin.com, and then doing the messaging from there. Very confusing, but I would say that's probably our top tip of today. So here we are. If you're dropping off at 8:15, please do so. But I'm going to take questions and answers until there's a last man standing. So let me just see what is in the chat. I'm going to go from right. Saving leads and sales navigator above withdrawing a collection is slightly different. Oh, that was your answer. Thank you, Fergus. How can you withdraw a request? So you go into my network and then you click on invitations, manage invitations, and then you'll have the received invitations as the default. You can click on sent from there. Drop me a line if you don't find it. I'm not too sure which ones of these that you've answered, Fergus. Let me just go on to the unread ones. Yes, you'll be sent a recording of the webinar. Let's see what other questions we've got. If you exceed the 1,500, how do you reduce this? You would... you need to unsave people. There's no other way to do it. You have to go through and unsave and then be able to save. I mean, the Teams upgrade is an extra $40 a month, which if you make use of smart links is probably worth doing if you're frequently saving it up. Amazing timekeeping. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if I've missed a question. Please pop it in at the bottom. Of course, you can email me, you can tweet me, or you can get in touch with me on LinkedIn, of course. Great. Well, we have no more questions. Somebody's typing. I tried to add saved leads to a list yesterday and it wouldn't let me add more. Is that because I exceeded the limit? Yeah, there is a limit on custom lists. There's a limit on how many custom lists as well as how many you can save into the list. I can't remember what that limit is, Michael, but I think Ivana, who's on the line here, will know that. I'll get back to you on that. Any other questions? All right, brilliant. 1,000 is for custom lists. Thank you, Ivana and Maya. I knew you would know. 5 good tips. Excellent. That's what we want. Brilliant. Okay, well, we're going to close up there. You've got my details. If any questions come up afterwards, let me know. We'll send the presentation so you've got it all in your inbox. Thank you very much. Goodbye.